going to kick off with Sue, talk a little bit about some of the computer science presentations. Then we're going to get into some really nice, good work around Career Connect Washington and the Wenatchee School District and some of the work they're doing also with SkillSource. So with that, Sue.
Hello again. So I have the honor of standing up here to tell you a little bit about work, but I'm a little bit guilty about this part of the day because there's an entire team of folks that have been working collectively together to develop some computer science pathways for our students to ensure that students in the North Central Washington region have equitable opportunity to pursue these technical and computer science fields. And I thought I'll introduce these folks to you in one moment. I thought, oh, you don't have any visual on slides. Yeah. All right. I think it says screen blink. There we go. Just last week, actually, the WSU Impact Center released a report on the North Central Washington region. There is a lot of talk about the development of the tech sector in the North Central Washington region and the Wenatchee region specifically, Chelan, Douglas, and Grant County, with the growing number of technology in the fields that are already predominant in the region, like agriculture that we talked about this morning, but also there are energies, which we'll learn about a little bit later this afternoon. And there are a growing number of tech companies and data centers that are coming into the region also with needs for workforce and talent development. And the report, as I was reading through the write-up that they did, the WSU Impact Center was doing an economic assessment on the impact of the region and where are the gaps and where are the needs, whether they are physical and capital infrastructure or there's workforce development needs. And one of the things that struck me was Tim Nadrew, the scientist at the Impact Center, was talking about how the composition of the educational attainment for the region. And I really took this as a charge. And I think I'll tell you a little bit about the computer science pathway work that we've been doing. But as context, you heard President Lees talk this morning about how the region has some of the most challenged in terms of educational attainment populations in the state of Washington. Our distributions are such that a lot of the population is, about a third of the population, is at a high school or less at their educational attainment. So when we make a goal as a state for 70% post-secondary credential attainment, it's a really ambitious goal for this region to get to that level. And we've got to do some work. And I'm encouraged to hear from John Altman that the governor is really leaning in on adult training opportunities as well to be able to get some of those secondary completions so that we can then join the rest of the state with the post-secondary completion goal. One of the highlights in Tim's report that came out last week compared the aspirational North Central Washington region and our educational attainment with a couple of the communities that are readily recognized across the country as tech sort of communities. And what you'll see, not very well because it's a little bit small in this display, is in the blue bars are the educational attainment for the Wenatchee region or the greater Wenatchee region. And in the gray bars, these average the educational attainment or the demographic breakdown for San Francisco and San Jose and Austin. And it kind of from the left to the right goes for less than 9th grade education and all the way over to a graduate degree to kind of orient you. And what you can see there is that if we really truly have, and I believe that we can, the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure to support a tech industry in the North Central Washington region, we have to do some work to make sure that our students have opportunities for post-secondary and graduate level training in some of these technical occupations. Whether it's the data analytics scientists that some of our scientists were talking about this morning, or computer programming for specific development of applications, or cybersecurity, cyber resiliency. We saw a great influx of blockchain companies come through with various applications in different types of fields, from medical, data security, to even media production types of companies. So the goal for our work this last year has been to work as a ecosystem, as I mentioned this morning, that we really have to be very intentional in laying out a pathway for our students, understanding that most of their aspirations are going to start when they're in high school, and they're going to have to be able to see and understand that they are getting on a given pathway towards a trajectory. So if I'm a high school student and I believe that there is a career for me in technology, in order to get on that pathway, I'm going to have to be able to have opportunity and access to some kind of a program that tells me that those jobs are here, that maybe introduces me with some folks that are going to help me make decisions and guide me into where those on-ramps are. And we had in North Central Washington an opportunity to engage students in that way through the Microsoft TEALS program. And I know the Alliance has heard from and heard about the Microsoft TEALS program already. In North Central Washington, there are 18 school districts now offering TEALS with Microsoft, or the Microsoft TEALS program. And that introduces a computer programmer into a high school classroom virtually. They teach the class for the full year, and the students are accomplishing a college level rigor course for an entire year. With that sort of number of districts engaged all together and the number of students, we were then able to approach some of the higher ed partners in the region and say, what would you think about working together collectively to kind of flesh out what a pathway might look like for students from post-secondary or from the high school TEALS program? Let's say that's our first step in this pathway. What would that step look like as you matriculate into a community and technical college and into a university program if you wanted to pursue a 4-year computer science degree in this region? And we had an opportunity through Microsoft Philanthropies grant to assemble that team. Now, the team of folks that did this work, they are all allowing me to speak on behalf of them this morning for time's sake, but they are all there, and I want to make sure that I recognize them as we're doing this. If you would stand up and let me introduce you, at least you can know who these faces are behind this work. So Megan McConnell is actually with Central Washington University. Reva Morgan is Wenatchee Valley College. Nicole Monroe is Quincy School District. Tom Willingham is Big Bend Community College. And Dennis Conger's not standing. But Dennis Conger's newly joined the North Central Education Service District, but was a part of this team last year for the computer science pathway alignment work as part of the Wenatchee School District. And what we set out to do, this group, I'll let you sit now so you don't have to stand here awkwardly, but what we set out to do last year was really kind of look at if we wanted to try to navigate this system and we wanted to create some kind of a communication out to students and families, first and foremost to let them know that these jobs exist locally. But then if you took this class in high school, what's the next step look like? And what's the step after that look like? And how do you create some transparency about where you are on that pathway when you step into that pathway? How do you know where you are and have confidence about that? That work was a bi-monthly working meeting for an entire year to try to outline. And the product of that work is actually included in your packets for today. It's a pathway articulation report that has a comprehensive set of recommendations, not only for the development of that student pathway or reinforcing that student pathway, but also for circling back and encouraging the connection or the continued connection of our educational stakeholders in putting that pathway together. I can't underscore enough how important it was that these community partners were able to sit down at the table together and have conversations and really wrestle what part of the curriculum was covered in this course and what part of the curriculum was covered in that course. And as a part of our work last year together, we were actually able to partner with GWADA. And GWADA went out and did some interviews with some of our local businesses. We wanted to hear from the businesses, are we getting this right? Is there a need? Is there a demand for computer science degrees in North Central Washington? And the compilation of that video, or of those interviews, was made into a video. And I'm going to show you that so you can hear firsthand from the business community in North Central Washington about this tech need. Maybe. Mm. Well. That's very strange. It's showing it on the
There's a lot of exciting things that are out there in technology right now. Things are changing. Our economy is so rapidly changing. We are a global economy now where we have to be able to reinvent ourselves.
Information technology at STMILT is a keystone. Our systems are kind of like a neural network. If we are not up, the plant does not run, trucks do not ship.
Embracing the technology for us particularly has really enabled us to streamline our assembly processes, improved quality, even improved safety for our employees. We actually use it as a force multiplier. We've managed to create more jobs with our automation. Not only just more jobs, more skilled jobs.
With everything that's out there today, and especially the younger generations coming up, everything is technology-based, and not just in the devices that we carry or the computers that we use.
Computer science and the technologies of computer science are going to be in everything and everywhere, and that's going to continue growing. It's in our nature to use these technologies to make our lives easier and better. And since it's a new market, there's just a lot of opportunity.
So about 3 years ago, we chose to move our software company from the Seattle area to the North Central Washington Wenatchee Valley because we love it here. And now we're looking to continue to build our team and find technology talent to add to our team here in the region and in the community.
As an employer of the area, I would like to see more computer science students that would provide the ability to tap resources locally. When we go to hire, we're having a very hard time finding qualified candidates. Out of the school system, it's very viable for them to come in with a degree from the community college or a university that would provide the entry-level skills that they need. These jobs pay well, yet we cannot find the individuals to fill those jobs. And so we have to pull out of the area, and we do extensive advertising and searching to find qualified candidates.
We employ about 150 people. A lot of them are very technical, and it's hard for us to find people sometimes because of that. Most of the time we have to train our own.
I don't think it's a lack of awareness of the programs. I think it's a lack of awareness of the students understanding the positions are here in this area. I think they think the positions are in the Seattle area. They don't see it in the agricultural industry. You know, if they actually saw what it took to put fruit in a box, they'd understand that it's not as simple as picking the fruit and sticking it in the box, that there's a massive amount of technology.
If I was 21 and I was starting over again, I would take a hard look at at writing programs for applications. I think there's something for everybody if they think about what they like and try to find a computer industry that fits that.
I know local industry partners are ready and excited to help educators build these incredible pathways to future careers in computer science. What's important and what's exciting is when I see educators that are willing to help their students look to the future and learn those skills about problem solving and exploration and the what if, and see what amazing things that I can do with technology to change and mold the future.
So one of the major outputs of this work that we've done together to flesh out what does the current landscape look like and what does this pathway look like for students. And in the report that you have in your packets, I wanted to just draw your attention to one of the graphics that Tom Willingham made that was really kind of a breakthrough for our team as we were looking at this. What we noticed and what I would encourage you to consider as you take away from this part of the day is that currently a lot of the pathways that we have for our students, some of them have holes and gaps, and some of them have considerable redundancy as well. That was definitely the case for the computer science credential pathway. What was happening is now that we have an opportunity to teach some of the foundational skill sets in the high schools in a mechanism that is scalable, the students, they have these skills and abilities that they're developing, and then they would get to the two-year college and they would be met with, welcome to computer science, here's the introductory skill set again. And then they would maybe transfer and those classes didn't transfer or things didn't align and there wasn't great alignment between what was covered in this course and what was covered in this course. And that pathway, again, we would cycle back through some redundancy. And so this conversation that we had as a group, it really sunk in and resonated in the space of when we talk about dual credits, and that is a priority focus for many of us this next year, is increasing and expanding opportunities for students to get access to higher ed credits while they're still in the K-12 system. We know that's a good thing for kids. But then when they took those credits and they started to land them into a post-secondary training program, those weren't always lining up. They were getting elective credits, or they were getting credits that were outside of their program. And for our students in the North Central Washington region, there's the added complexity of majority of them are going to start at a transfer school. They're going to start at one of the 2 years and move to a 4-year if they want to get that 4-year credential. And so again, you'd have that opportunity for that redundancy. Ideally, you want to see that skills and knowledge and abilities develop in a progression where one handoff to the next, you actually see some recognition and some value for the skills and abilities that were developed previously before you make that handoff. And I started this conversation today talking about the importance of the relationships that were built around the table. What I saw develop over the year was some really great working professional relationships, such that the schools that were around the table, whether it was Quincy High School or Central Washington University or either of the community college, they know each other well. They know each other's curriculum. They know what the student develops. They met and talked to some of each other's students. And these students are now having the opportunity to move much more seamlessly through this pathway, and the articulation agreement is a much more robust articulation agreement for it. They've since, the districts that were engaged in this planning process, agreed that they would build the pathway and then help share that information with the surrounding school districts. So I think this is an opportunity as we look to the next year and the Career Connect networks and some of the dual credit work to really kind of reflect on the importance of building those relationships within the ecosystem. It's much, much easier, especially when we have such subjective measures. The articulation agreements have to be between individual districts and the post-secondary institution to be able to make those connections with somebody that you know and someone who you understand that they understand that kids have to know this by the time they get to me, and you can make those kinds of assurances. And so I think the report is there for you to take a look at, but what I would like you to know is it's still a work in progress. We have 8 of the school districts of the 16 have articulations currently for the work that the students can do in the high school, and that number is growing even now. And we're working to increase the number of students who now have the ability to transfer those credits all the way through the university and know that they have credits in their program of study already. So this is the last slide that I have for today, and this is the team that was involved in the pathway articulation steering team effort. And I want to bring back kind of a frequently heard comment from today about the importance of the public-private partnership. This was made possible because there were folks like WADA, there were folks like Microsoft that leaned in alongside our public institutions, our school districts, and our educators, and really they're trying to make that pathway work together. And it would be impossible to do if not all of those entities were at the table together. So I'd love to point your questions, if you have questions, at these folks when we take our next break. But I am going to now kind of make a transition and introduce to you one of my colleagues in the Pathway Project who brings considerable expertise to now the Career Connect Washington work as the North Central Washington and Northeastern Washington CTE and CCL Pathway Specialist, Dennis Conger. Dennis Conger previously came to us from the Wenatchee School District, where he was the CTE director there for 6 years. But he also had experience as a Skills Center director for the Skills Center in Spokane. And prior to that was a CTE educator and I guess many things in OMAC. And I can't tell you how much that I have learned personally from Dennis. He has been an incredible sounding board and someone that has helped me to navigate and learn and make sense of opportunities for students, and know him to be a fantastic heart, and he's motivated more than anything by the success of our students. So I'm excited to let you hear from him about this new technology apprenticeship.
Thank you very much. My first job here is just introduce and welcome some people to the room, and then I'm going to turn it over to the stars of the show and let them talk about what we've actually been able to accomplish and what they're doing with this program right now. One of the things we've been, and we're going to give you, Susan and I are going to share a little bit in a minute about kind of the history of where we started and where we are now. But up front, I want to recognize it takes a lot of people to do this work, and it takes leadership to support the work. So in the back of the room, I want to acknowledge John DeYoung, who's been huge in this. He's assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent for Wenatchee School District. I want to acknowledge Superintendent Dr. Gordon back there from Wenatchee School District. I want to acknowledge again Michelle Price, who was here this morning, and her leadership in this is huge as we continue to move forward. Lisa Romine and the work that she does with SkillSource and the Workforce Development Council, and her support of Susan and the programs there. Susan's going to have an opportunity to share more about that. Washington STEM has been a huge part of this. I want to acknowledge our new director of Washington STEM, Angela, over here. All of these people, everybody has a part, and of course John Altman in the governor's office for making this possible in the first place, as they supported that legislation as we move forward. So first I want to introduce my team. Susan Adams, she's the center manager for SkillSource. Brandon Marsh, he's going to share as a journeyman for our Youth Tech Apprenticeship Program, and he's also, I always get his title wrong, I call him the Assistant Director of Operational Technology, but I know that's not the correct title. And then I'm going to introduce one of our apprentices, and it's Amy Technaval, and she's very forgiving in how I pronounce her last name, so thank you, Amy. So I'm going to let Brandon share as a journeyman of our computer tech program, and
his role in supervising the apprentices and what that looks like for the school district. So Brandon, the floor is yours.
I can hit buttons. You tell me what buttons to hit.
How do I forward the slide?
Not that button.
Oh, the keyboard's hidden underneath.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm wearing the same shirt. That wasn't planned. Jeez. School district only gave me one shirt. It's the red one. That's a good start. I like this. Who picked that one, Diana? Good afternoon. I'm Brandon Marsh. I call myself the assistant director, but I'm really the technical support services coordinator because the longer the title, the more fancy you sound, but who cares about that? When we were first approached as operational technology to start an apprenticeship program, there was a lot of hesitation. One thing I've learned in life is that change is inevitable. And so Dennis came and said, we want to do this program. And I said, change is inevitable, isn't it? So we had meetings, we had paperwork, we had meetings about paperwork, and finally we decided that it was time to do some interviews. Now I've learned that anything to do with Dennis involves my tonsils. You'll understand here in a little bit. We conducted the interviews and I had tonsillitis, really bad case of tonsillitis. We soldiered through and interviewed quite a few young kids, bright students. We were actually surprised by the caliber of students that applied to our program. We sat around and we debated for a while, who do we need to hire? And we couldn't pick just one. And that was our goal, was to pick one. So my boss leans over and says to me, Brandon, I'd hire every one of these. I said, that's great, Dave, but I have to supervise my 10 original employees plus 10 new apprentices? No, that's not going to work. So we decided to hire our top 2. And you'll hear from Amy here in a little bit. We started them off in a slow process. If you haven't known of an apprenticeship, there's about 3 levels of an apprenticeship. First level is they get to follow whoever the person in charge is around and watch them work. Super exciting for them and super exciting for the person doing the work because you have a shadow over you the whole time. You eventually get into a second stage where you're doing the work, but the journey level person, me or one of my staff, is now standing over their shoulder. So the roles are reversed. And the third final stage is the apprentice goes out, does the work on their own, and then we do a final quality check in the end. So we start off in this rocky process. If you've never done an apprenticeship or started a program, you're bringing a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old into your workplace to do work. Now, anybody here know any 16 or 17-year-olds? Hopefully all of you do. So you know the little bit of trepidation that we might have had. Now, we had a lot of faith, so we went forward with faith. Our apprenticeship program is still currently in development. We're the ones developing the program here in the state. We're the first ones. And we have learned that IT is actually set up already in a pseudo-apprenticeship model. For those who aren't familiar with IT, you start off in a help desk, a call center. You take calls, you help people over the phone or remote into your computer, whatever. Then you eventually move up into what's called service desk, where you're out going into the field, fixing computers, and then you move up to supervisor, so on and so forth. Well, what if we took the apprenticeship and threw it on the first 2 levels of IT? It works out pretty well. You start off with your apprentice working behind the scenes, and then you start sending them out into the field. It works really well with those 3 levels that I just talked about. So why do we need an apprenticeship for this program? Well, that was an interesting question that we faced. We have college degrees, right? I have a college degree and I work in IT. Well, what if I could get that same education without having to go to college, or I could enter with an advantage that we just heard Sue talk about, and maybe while I'm going to college to get my 4-year degree, I could work for one of you guys. So if you had an IT opening and someone came off the street and said, hey, I'm going to college, I want to help you in IT, and I've played with computers in my yard and stuff. That's cool, right? Or you could have Amy who comes in and says, yeah, I worked for Wenatchee School District for about 1.5 years. I worked on their network, I upgraded their phone system, I did this and this and this. Who are you going to hire? Correct answer is Amy, because she's right here. So one of the big things about the apprenticeship program is I refer to Amy and Peyton as my apprentices. I don't refer to them as kids or kiddos on this side of the mountains, I've learned, or students, because during that time that they are in my employment, they are my representatives for my division. They have to uphold all the things that I hold valuable in our operational technology division at the school district. They even have badges that say staff on them. Granted, that is only an hour a day. They can pretend they're staff and go behind the doors that they wouldn't be able to go to normally, but they're able to uphold that responsibility and follow through on it. It's really, really nice. The Wenatchee School District apprenticeship program looks like a typical apprenticeship program, just with different tools of the trade. We're familiar with the apprenticeships for plumbers, electricians. You may not be, but we've heard about them at least. Same thing, again, with the 3 tiers. The past spring, Amy and Peyton is my other apprentice, he couldn't be here at the moment. They started off following my staff around the high school. They were super excited to watch other people work. No, that's not exciting for a 16-year-old. But they got to learn some cool skills once we learned and found some trust in the relationship. Over the summer, I got to work Amy and Peyton to the bone. I worked them 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Now, to those of us in the room, that may not sound like a lot. 6 hours may be a dream to some of us. But consider 16-year-old, 17-year-old giving up their summer vacation, coming to work for me for 6 hours a day all summer long. They took a 2-week break in the middle. That's pretty cool. That's a really good opportunity. During the summer, what they got to do was rip everything out of the high school as far as phones and replace the whole phone system. That involved punching things down. That involved rewiring, tracking wires, making sure wires are okay. It involved a whole myriad of skills that they now have that Amy can put on her resume. Yeah, I did some network work. I did some telephony work. I did this and I did that. And I know how to test a jack and make sure it's working and all this and find wires here and there. Pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool anyway. I'm a nerd though. The best part about the Wenatchee High School is, I'm guessing most of you in this room are not familiar with it. It's a very large high school. I've heard it's 4 acres under one roof, somewhere around there. 7/8 of a mile to go in a lap. So, we should have counted laps because Amy and Peyton visited every single classroom at least 3 times to do all this work, sometimes many more. And every single closet, we have multiple closets, about 200 times, I'm sure. So I'm sure we put a few miles on our shoes going around the 7/8 lap every once in a while. Today, Amy and Peyton are able to handle tasks on their own. We're able to deploy them if the problem is beyond their skill set. They either call us down there or they bring it back to us. If it's a portable unit and they can bring it back to us, bring the Chromebook back to us and we'll fix it back at the shop. Enough of me. You guys are bored with me already, right? No, you should be. I want to hear from Amy. So we'll bring up Amy. And I'm a Toastmaster, by the way. That means you clap between people. You guys are doing pretty well, except no one clapped for Sue at the beginning. So make note of that, Sue. So help me welcome Amy up. She's going to talk about her experience a little bit.
Hello. I'm so excited to be speaking in front of all you people. Honestly, when I first applied for this job, I didn't know public speaking was going to be part of it, but here I am, so please bear with me. As I was introduced, my name is Amy Teshavmal, and I am a senior at Wenatchee High School. And today I was asked to talk about my whole experience with this new apprenticeship program. So I started in April of this year, so I've been doing this for around 6 months now. And my mom really encouraged me to go for it. We saw the job posting, so it was kind of, I was uncertain about it because there had never been any apprenticeship programs before in Wenatchee School District, but I still applied for it. What really drew me to the job was that they were willing to give me job experience, even though I had no knowledge, prior knowledge, or experience, which I thought was super cool. They would train me from nothing. And just a little bit about me, my knowledge of IT work is very, very slim. I'm a basic user of computers, but it's never something I had previously learned about. So when I got hired, I was really excited to start, but obviously when you get a new job, it's a new environment, new experience, and you have to get used to it. During the school year, I get to work with 3 techs at Wenatchee High School, and it's kind of difficult, of course, with IT work to explain exactly what you do because it's different every day, just depending on who we're working with. So I would have to say the first month or so was definitely a bit difficult, getting used to all the new terminology and working around the high school. But I would say the people I worked with, they were super encouraging, and I soon became more and more comfortable, as well as developed some really basic IT skills. So as Brandon was saying, during the summer, I got to work at the high school working on the new phone system as well as upgrading the network. It was a whole new area that I had never learned about before. It consisted of fixing wall plates, playing in the ceilings to pull new wires, as well as working with patch panels and switches and all that good stuff. It was really crazy to learn all the behind-the-scenes things that really went to making the high school run. So I thought that was such a cool experience. Even though I didn't have the funnest summer, I still got to learn a lot of cool things, and I did enjoy my time. So. This apprenticeship has been a really great experience, and I'm continuing to learn so much as I go through it. The hands-on learning and immersion has been really amazing, and it's crazy to think that I went from being a student to also being a staff. So I love how, since I am still in high school, but I still get to do this, and I also get to make money, so that's also a bonus. So I hope that this apprenticeship can continue to go on even when I graduate, and that we can give this experience to more and more students that are interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Now let me touch on a couple more things. One, Dennis and my tonsils. A month and a half ago, Dennis asked me to speak here. 2.5 weeks ago, I had a tonsillectomy. So I don't know if our relationship's over now, Dennis, because I don't have tonsils, or what the deal is. Let me leave you with one more thing. As we move towards the future in IT, I'm excited to be at the changing edge, the leading edge. While I don't always like having to learn for my job is perpetual education because technology always changes. It's pretty cool to be the one making the change, or at least orchestrating the change from my end. And I am really excited to do that and to lead the way. I think my mantra, my personal mantra, is best summed up by a quote from Walt Disney. He said, quote, "Whatever you do, do it well. Do it so well that when people see you do it, they will want to come back and see you do it again. And they will want to bring others to show them how well you do what you do." Close quote. May we continue to inspire those around us. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Brandon and Amy. And I think Dennis and I both at this point thought, well, we could probably not even be up here and speak any further about the program, because the real stars of the show were just in front of you. You need to have a dedicated employer, journeyman, and a dedicated apprenticeship. You have to have business to make this happen. And both Wenatchee School District and SkillSource have brought it to this program. But we wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit about our journey to get here, and then also how we plan to continue to grow this program and this opportunity to students throughout North Central Washington, and now we think that will expand into the Spokane region. Oh, well, that was supposed to be up there when they were talking. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. So it was interesting this morning when I first started chatting with Jean Sherritt, and I me a little bit about this group, how it started, and he talked about that it was back in 2014 and the support of the governor to start this committee. Well, really, our work in this arena started back in 2014 with the Career Readiness for a Working Washington grant initiative. The governor had 5 pilot programs around the state, and Wenatchee was chosen as one of those to really start looking at connecting careers to those students in high school. And I think it was Dennis and then Diana Hageland, I think she's here. It was their second day on the job that I was introduced to them. They just started with the school district, and we headed to Olympia to find out about this initiative. And it's really there that some creative financing happened through Governor Inslee, and that was WIA, Workforce Investment Dollars through Employment Security, and Career and Technical Ed funding through OSPI. That was really a different model. And then the YouthWorks grant came along. We also participated in that. We also just continued to build our partnerships here in the region to offer more career-connected opportunities to youth. And then it was in 2017 that the Career Connect Washington grant application became available. And I still remember to this day sitting in a room with Dennis and brainstorming, what are we going to do with this grant? And what was really new and different about this grant was the opportunity to help develop apprenticeship, and especially in the youth arena. And it was Dennis, through some research, we know that computer careers and that the demand in that occupation across sectors was needed in our community, the training. And so we really started to focus on that. But it was Dennis who came up with this idea that, well, we need that job here at the school district. I said, well, we have that work here at SkillSource. What if we lead the charge? Why don't we show the community that we're willing to make this investment and go forward with it? And so it was really there that this idea came about. We thought we had everything that we needed. We had employer, we had the sponsor at the time, the public school union. And so we had everything together, and we thought in the fall of 2017, we will get this thing launched and going. In the spring of 2018, we'll have somebody hiring, and this is easy. We got this. Well, it was spring of 2019 before we hired our first apprentices. And I'm happy to say that today is the first day on the job for our apprentice at SkillSource. They are starting today. And I share that because this is really good work. It's great work. But it takes time. It takes partnership. It does not happen overnight. And I think that shows when we go back and we look that it was all the way back to 2014 that we really started building this momentum, the relationships, the partnerships in both the educational and business community here in North Central Washington. So you wouldn't know that I'm actually was a former business ed teacher at CTE. I can't even figure out how to push the slide forward, but we'll make this happen. So that's a little look back. We're excited about the future of this program. We have 3 apprentices hired at this point, but we are working with the North Central ESD at this point to have them now be the sponsor of this program. Wenatchee School District is a sponsor. SkillSource is one of the employers. And now we're looking for the North Central ESD has agreed to edit the standards, and they will become the sponsor, which will then bring in the network of their 28 other school districts, many of which I think 20 are in very rural communities, and give those school districts and those communities an opportunity to grow their own and to expand this opportunity throughout North Central Washington. We also will continue to work with those districts. I know Sue talked a little bit about curriculum and alignment, and we have Wenatchee Valley College. We had Big Bend Community College here this morning. You know, how do we continue to wrap around, because education is a big part of the success of this program. So we will continue that work. Our goal right now is to have those standards revised by November to labor and industry, and then hopefully be at the Washington State Labor Apprentice Committee meeting in January to edit those standards to include those school districts and start the work with those school districts for them to also to employ techs in the future. Also, because of Dennis's new role, he has also been able to work with Spokane and the Northeastern Washington ESD, and they are very interested in this program. So we will hope that they then can just take these standards. That's what's beautiful when you develop great, robust standards with business. It's pretty easy to take them over to another employer and have them make some edits and adopt it as their own. And so we were looking to that to happen in Spokane as well. So we're excited, though, you know, to kind of build on that. We've been talking about fruit. Man, was that fascinating this morning or what? I learned so much. But, you know, right now our tree, we only have 3 pieces of fruit hanging from that tree. But I think, as you can see, our efforts will go forward, and we look to just that we see that tree bearing lots of fruit and talent like Amy in the future. Let's see, do we have anything else we're going to say? Dennis, you want to talk about just what also?
Susan did an awesome job of giving the great summary. There's a couple people in the room too that I should have mentioned before. Reva Morgan back there has been a huge part of this entire process from the start, from Wenatchee Valley College, and 2,000 hours is a requirement of this apprenticeship, and that's difficult to do in your high school career. So there's also an opportunity to continue those hours through Wenatchee Valley College. So you need that secondary partner. You need them to grant the college credits, and you need them to complete the pathway. And then Ron Brown back there has been a supporter from the start of this idea, and he was very helpful in talking to staff in Wenatchee School District as we were going through the implementation process. So thank you, Ron. Right now, there's the Career Connect Washington has a couple formats. There's 3 buckets of money that were funded in the bill. One is for a regional network grant, and Sue has shared a little bit about that, and that's hosted through the ESD, and it's their job to help bring that entire region together in this Career Connected Washington work. There's an intermediary grant, which is SkillSource, working alongside the ESD and Apple STEM, and they're going to be specifically concentrating on youth apprenticeship, and we're looking at expanding the computer tech apprenticeship, but we're also looking at a couple other apprenticeships. I wonder why they hide that like that. You could tell that I am not a computer tech person, but we're looking at hospitality as well as maybe veterinary medicine alongside the computer tech, and in maybe, you know, advanced manufacturing, especially in the Moses Lake area. There's a lot of work around youth apprenticeship. And it's exciting opportunities for students. As Amy was saying, it's great to get paid for your work while you're in there. One of the small battles we had was what should be the pay scale for an apprentice. So we went at 80% of a journeyman's wage for that beginning step on the contract, which when we first started that conversation was minimum wage. But there was contract negotiations happening at the same time, and the techs got a significant raise, and so did our apprentices. And there were some of the techs who were a little concerned that the apprentice was started out at a higher wage than they had a year ago. But such is life, and it's all working out well now. So anyway, the third bucket of the money was, one is the regional networks that have the ability to make this work go forward. The second is the intermediate, which is concentrating on a smaller bucket of work there. The third was a position in each ESD for a coordinator such as myself to kind of help provide Career Connect learning support, career and technical education support to school districts to help them get to that CTE pathway to get more career connected learning in their schools, etc. So we're very thankful that this work is here and moving forward. Hey, look at that, I found the button. And we have some wonderful people doing some wonderful work here, and I'm excited to see what's developed in the future. So thank you very much for your time. Sue's now going to introduce our next speaker.
So I'm going to introduce to you a colleague and friend. Dr. Karina Vega is an Ecuadorian-American scientist. She actually started her undergrad at the University of Idaho, but then came back and finished a PhD in pharmaceutical science with WSU. So it is a go Cougs kind of day around here. She worked at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center conducting medical research before she came to Wenatchee, and was a colleague of mine at Wenatchee Valley College in biology and did all kinds of work where she is actually been instrumental in getting some course-based undergraduate research off the ground as well, as you heard Dr. Richardson allude to this morning. So she's going to tell you a little bit about her current role, which is as the director for the Wenatchee Valley College MESA program. Dr. Vega.
Muy buenas tardes, good afternoon. I would like to start off first with land acknowledgement of the Confederate tribes of the Colville Reservation, Chelan, Nez Perez, Colville, Eniat, Lakes, Metho, Moses Columbia, Nespelem, Okanogan, Palouse, San Poil, and Wenatchee. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we do at MESA. So I'm going to briefly present what we do, a timeline of how we got here to Washington State, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what we have done specifically at Wenatchee Valley College. So the Mathematics, Engineering, and Science Achievement Program is a nationally recognized academic support program that advocates for equity, access, and education in sciences, math, and engineering. And we aim to diversify the STEM workforce to prepare a new generation of STEM leaders. And we do this by addressing the challenges that historically underrepresented groups have faced in their educational and career development. We don't do this by ourselves. We collaborate, we partner up with industry, government agencies, community partners, and parents and family really play a big role in making sure that our students are achieving the goals that they have in STEM careers. So we have a state MESA that coordinates all the things that happen in K-12 and community college programs. Then we have the MESA centers that serve both K-12 students and community college students. We have our students who are getting exposure to professional development opportunities, who are taking classes and connecting with possible mentees in middle school and high school. And we work with school districts and community college admin. We are a program that's found nationwide. There are 11 states that have the MESA program. We are one of them. And it all started back in 1970 in a conference similar to this one. An Oakland Tech high school teacher met a University of California, Berkeley professor, and he was just surprised about the lack of students coming specifically from that high school. And so that high school, Oakland Tech High School, was predominantly African American. And so they got talking about how do we get more of these students to come to UC Berkeley. And so California MESA started in 1970, and it launched from the College of Engineering. Then MESA USA started in 1970, and was established as the governing body of the K-16 MESA programs nationwide. Then in 1976, the School of Engineering was developed at the University of Washington, and that's where Washington MESA started in 1982. So it formally launches from the School of Engineering at the University of Washington. It's in 1985 where MESA Student Centers first served students. 80 of those students were served in the first student center. And then in 1999, a MESA middle school bill is established so that the state funds middle school expansions in 4 regional centers. In 2001, we have the K-12 MESA that has served roughly 5,000 students, 78 schools are engaged, and 25 school districts are represented. It's in 2009 that the MESA Community College Program starts through an NSF grant, and it supports 4 community colleges. We have the first expansion of the Community College MCCP program, where 2 community colleges are added, and at this point we have over 300 students served, 6 community colleges engaged. It's in 2014 that the Washington State Fund allocation happens, and now we are under budget to secure funding for 6 community college programs. The program was expanded again in 2017, so we are the result of that second expansion. During the second expansion, 6 more community colleges are added to the original 6. And to date, we have 45,000 students in the K-12 system that have enrolled in Washington MESA, and approximately 32,000 have gone to college or university. So I'll give you a very brief overview of the K-12 MESA program, because we also have a K-12 MESA system, but we don't have it here in North Central Washington. And the foundation for academic success for the students that we serve who are first generation, low income, from underrepresented minorities, the one very important value is family. So we work very hard with parent advocacy and family inclusion. If we don't think about the families, we're not going to get those students engaged. We might engage them, but we're not going to retain them. And that's very key in understanding or work with underrepresented minorities. Family and community engagement is a key piece. And then we work in college readiness and academics. And these might look similar to other programs that might be out there. And students have opportunities for personal growth. They get to go to college campuses. And we train faculty and staff on cultural competency. How do you work with a first-generation student? How do you work with low-income, underrepresented minorities? And you also have that the academic piece, where we offer academic enrichment and professional development for the teachers. So this is a map that shows you where Washington MESA is. We have 12 community colleges, and our K-12 programs are located in universities. So we have community colleges with a MESA program: Everett, Edmonds, North Seattle College, Highland College, Olympic College, Green River College, Tacoma Community College, Clark College, Yakima Valley College, Wenatchee Valley College, and Spokane Falls Community College, as well as Columbia Basin College. So those are the community college programs, and they will look similar to what I'm going to present soon, specifically to Wenatchee Valley College. Then the other campuses simply host the director for the K-12 system. So we have K-12 programs in Washington State University, Spokane, in the University of Washington, in Pacific Lutheran University, Pacific Northwest National Laboratories, Washington State University, Vancouver, and Heritage University. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of WVC Mesa, because I know I'm the only thing between you and 2 p.m. coffee. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we do. And our objective is simply to increase the number, retention rate, and transfer rate of underrepresented minorities and women. We work in order to get these groups to stay in STEM. Those that start at the community college face some hurdles that others that start at four-year universities don't have to. So we work really hard to make sure they get to reach their goal. All community college MESA programs have these 8 pillars. I'm not going to go over each one of them. I am just showing you what are the things that make our program successful. And I'm going to highlight the things that are most relevant for us. So each college will highlight whatever is most needed for their specific campus. So all of us use a cohort model, because if we can study together, we can complete classes together. So we all start as a group, and there is a proven method of success, especially for STEM and for underrepresented minorities, to create that sense of community and belonging. And then we have MESA services that are pretty similar to other programs like TRIO and CAMP, if you have heard of them, where you offer STEM skills and college skills. We offer a student center that offers tutors and a lending library, internships and mentoring opportunities, and advising. So of all those things that we do, I'm simply going to highlight the ones that students have gotten back to us to say, please do more of this. So we have student events, campus visits, and academic advising. So we have a space in the center where you see other students that are also studying for their calculus series. That's where all of them are right now. That's why they are not here telling you about the program, because all of them have to study for calculus, physics, chemistry. All of them use that space. It's always bursting with noise, except in the summer for a couple of weeks. And that's also where we host our scientists. We partner up with Sue and the Apple STEM Network to have scientists stop over and simply chat about their experience. So that's how students got to know that you don't have to be a straight A student to be in STEM and to be successful. They got to meet really awesome scientists. Some of them were here earlier. And we also want to use that space to mentor the next generation. So Foothill Robotics team is a middle school robotics program that visited our campus. And we want to generate that community sense, right? The college students are connecting with the high school and the middle school students, and they are connecting with the professionals. So this is the space where all of those interactions can happen. And then we visit campuses, and we have a STEM focus. So we go to WSU, Wenatchee, and USDA Extension. We had the opportunity to take our students that, for the first time in their lives, were stepping in a lab. And this would have been an opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise. They have a relationship to agriculture because most of them come from farm working families. So they have families that pick the fruit, and they want to stay away from the fruit because that's all they know. So now we're connecting them with this STEM side of agriculture. And so they are now getting excited about the science part of agriculture. And they are seeing now the apples that their parents pick with different eyes. We take them to the Louis Stroke Armstrong Minority Participation Conference in UW, where they get to connect with other community college students and talk about science. And we also go to connecting community colleges to WSU, where they get to visit labs. And again, I can't state how impactful that is for our students who wouldn't have an opportunity to do that otherwise. And academic advising is also a really big piece because we want them to graduate on time. We want to have as many transferable credits as possible, and we want to advise with the transfer institution in mind. And this is so key because not all of the transfers, not all the credits transfers the same way. And these are low-income students. They don't have money to be wasting taking classes that are not going to transfer. So this is so important. And so for them, it's just very useful to have an advisor that knows the credits that they need, and that really makes a difference for them. And we do that with awesome advisors from Wenatchee Valley College. We have them in the mathematics, science, English, and engineering department, and they do a fantastic job pointing out the right credits for the right field to each one of our students. We also this year are developing community partnerships. We've worked with WADA. We're part of the Bridge or Valley of Future Community Development Initiative to stay connected with what's happening regionally, because a lot of our students want to come back and they need to have a place to come back to, right? If these are students that don't have the network through their parents to connect with a job, these are going to be the opportunities that they will have when they come back after finishing their bachelor's to connect with a career. And the last service that I'll talk about, and which is the one that I'm most excited about, is the Academic Excellence Workshops. They are led by a student who already passed the class, and they are offered at Gatekeeper courses. So a lot of students come with the mentality of, I'm not good at science, I'm not good at chemistry, I'm not good at math. So this is an additional support that we offer to make sure that they gain that confidence that they need so that they can continue in their career in STEM. So there are benefits to both the students that participate, the students that lead, and the faculty. Faculty would like to see a lot more. Funding is a limitation, but they see higher grades, higher retention rate, and there's that feedback. It's like having a TA in your class. And it's very useful when you're teaching 40, 100 students to have that extra help. And this is the result of a grade distribution comparison for the students that participated in a student-led workshop. This is probably the most exciting part of my presentation. So we compared the grades of the students that attended AWs versus the students that didn't attend AWs for all the courses that were offered. So this is chemistry, physics, and math. And you can see that a lot of our students here in blue that attended the AWs got A's, and that's pretty cool and exciting. But I want to point you to this other end of the spectrum. So you see that the students that took the workshop didn't give up. They didn't withdraw, and they didn't fail at the same rate as the students that were not participating in the workshop. I wasn't really expecting that. I was expecting to see, my hypothesis was that I was going to see more students getting A's, and that's what we saw. But I did not expect this. And so we did a survey of students, and all of them said, the AWs helped me to gain confidence, to have that sense of belonging. I can do calculus, I can do chemistry, I can do math. And so that is really powerful. What students are saying is the AWs that we offer at Wenatchee Valley College have really impacted their lives, and most importantly, the way that they see themselves as STEM students. And I have a student testimonial that I want you to see, because I can tell you all the great things that I do about the best job in the world, but these students really can tell you what the impact has been in their lives. This is Amanda Jeffries. She's the student that President Richardson referred to in the past, and also Sue. She was the Student Innovator of the Year. She's a master's student.
My name is Amanda Jeffries, and I am currently a student at Wenatchee Valley College. I am working on my bachelor's in science for biochemistry with the end goal of becoming a molecular and cellular researcher. This is my son, Koa Holmes, and he's my inspiration. He's the whole reason I do all of this. So I currently work 2 jobs. I'm a full-time student and a full-time mom. So some of the challenges I currently face are, one, being a single mom. It's definitely a challenging role to play while you're trying to go to school, especially taking the classes that I'm taking. I'm currently taking Calculus 3, Organic Chemistry, and Zoology. So time management is key. Like, I have to be on point with everything I do in order to get the grades that I require to get in the program that I want, and also to be a good mom for Koa. So one of the things I joined MESA for was to help get that support while I'm doing this, and not only support with resources as far as getting textbooks and access to computers, but having that support system in the community of friends that I might not be able to have outside of school, because I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to make these friendships, and MESA's been instrumental to creating these bonds. So my ultimate career goals are to get into research, particularly into molecular and cellular research. Right now, I feel like we are kind of facing a crisis as far as antibiotic-resistant bacteria goes, and we need more research in that. We need to find different ways to combat that. And right now, that's kind of where my research is leading me. That's where I really, really want to go. But with a lot of these research-based fields, you kind of go where the research is. You kind of find those opportunities and go after them. So right now, I say I want to research antibiotic-resistant bacteria, but in 5 years, that might change. Right now, I'm actually hoping to get into the USDA lab. I'm applied for a position there for a summer job, so I just really, really want to be in the lab. Bobby and Karina are great at getting opportunities for us to meet with mentors. I wouldn't have the opportunity to work in the USDA lab or even get there without Bobby and Karina's help. Also, they brought us to the UW in the wintertime as part of a STEM conference, and we got to talk to all sorts of great people, engineers, astrophysicists, chemical engineers, where I would have never had the opportunity to make those connections without them. They gave us a really good message. The message that I received was just not give up. Like, you're not going to be a perfect student. You're not going to get straight A's. Stuff is going to go over your head. You're going to meet challenges, but the main focus is to just keep pushing through those challenges. Just don't give up. Just don't let something stand in your way. Just keep pushing through. Like I said, you're not going to be perfect, but it's not perfect that changes the world. It's persistence. I have the people around me at MESA just building me back up. You know, we're all there for each other. We're all there offering support and friendship and just help in anything. You know, some of the students are really great at calculus, and they can help me when I'm struggling, or, you know, I'm particularly good at chemistry, so I can help my fellow students with chemistry. So we're all there just trying to help each other get through these really difficult classes. For the new MESA students out there, just reach out for help. We're all in the same boat. You know, don't feel like you're alone, because you're not. These classes are really difficult when you're getting into the STEM fields. It's not meant to be easy. They're meant to, you know, test your willpower and your time management skills. But we're all going through the same thing. We're all going through, you know, different life challenges, but we're all here ultimately to succeed, and all of us want to see each other succeed. So just reach out for help, and we're here to help you.
Thank you.
Okay. That work for you? Yeah. You guys get enough today too? Are you okay? Super. Nice. Hey, thanks for coming over and doing this as a client project, you guys. That's great. And we'll get a copy when you're all